Vacuum packaging and storage techniques. That's what we'll be discussing next. Most important is also when we start is the fold. Always have your bag folded in such a way where it's outside. This way when you're loading the product in. For a reason that this way you don't contaminate the beginning of the bag, so the seal can actually cut through it with much more ease. Here we're going to actually take a roast and we're going to vacuum package this at the highest level possible, and then from there we're actually going to place it into the freezer for just storage. This is ideal for cutting down on dehydration, freezer burn, oxidation, cross-contamination, and even aroma absorption. By placing this product in a vacuum bag, I cut down on, or eliminate all those things from happening to that product, which is then safe in the freezer for at least 1 year. We have now safely and quickly removed 99.9% of all the air that's inside this bag. So when this product is placed in a freezer, again, you will not have the freezer burn that you experienced by just wrapping the product. I can now take my label, place it on the product, which now gives me my package date, my use by date, what the product is for after I freeze it, and this could go into storage for well over 1 year. This particular vacuum packaging machine has the ability to adjust the pressure or the amount of vacuum either by percentage or by millibars. So if you're doing a more delicate item like these vegetables, we may not want to pull a vacuum down to the highest level, which is 99.9%, possibly only maybe 90%. So I've set the pre-program for 90%. As you can see, my bag is folded. Always when I'm loading it, I should fold it over so I don't cross-contaminate the opening of the bag. Again, I set the opening of the bag across the seal bar. My vacuum pressure is set for 90%. Now at 90%, I'm still going to get the shelf life that I'm looking for on the product, but I'm actually not pressing it down as tightly as a 100% would actually create. Texture and color change we're going to talk about next. Here we have some watermelon cubes, and we're going to place these under a high level of vacuum, about the highest level we can pull down to, about 99.9%. You'll see the color change to a deeper red, but the flavor becomes different because the texture becomes a little bit meatier. Instead of looking like a piece of watermelon now, it actually looks like a piece of ahi tuna. As you can see the difference in the color. And the texture is much meatier. Vacuum packaging liquids. Liquids are always a little bit trickier. First of all, you see my bag is folded. As I've loaded the soup into the bag, I place it onto the slant tray, which holds it on a nice angle. A few words about vacuum packaging liquids. The heavier the liquid, the more vacuum you can pull, the denser the product. The more liquid it is, the lower vacuum you can pull. What will happen is that the actual liquid will start to bubble. As it starts to bubble, it releases a vapor which actually can work its way into the pump and cause or create more oil changes for you down the road. So we highly recommend, if you're going to do liquids, always set your vacuum at a little bit lower percentage than say 99.9%. On this particular heavier soup that I'm using, I've set my vacuum at 97.5%. So let's see what happens at 97.5. At 97.5, that was the right amount of vacuum for the density of that particular soup. The bubbling was just starting to occur. I can now place my label on the product for storage to go into the refrigerated case. Tear off my top piece, which is my waste, and it's ready for storage now. Soups that I want to place under vacuum, but I want the fullest, highest level of vacuum that I can achieve. There's a small trick that's out there when you're vacuum packaging liquids. Because liquids, this type of liquid here is not very dense, it will start to bubble and start to boil up. So my level of vacuum has got to be a bit lower, somewhere closer to maybe 90%. But if I want a higher level of vacuum in that bag to actually pull down to a much higher level, so a little trick you can do is you, in between the seal blade and the opening of the bag, which is on the outside, leave the opening on the outside, put a 1-inch slit in between the seal blade and the body, and now do a full vacuum. What that actually did was, as the air is being expelled from the opening of the bag, the pressure is less because I'm only drawing the liquid out of a small hole rather than a large 10-inch opening here. So it allows you to pull the air out a little bit slower, keeping the pressure back to hold the soup so it doesn't actually pull all the way forward, and allows me to do a full vacuum on my soups or my sauces without having to mess inside the chamber or pulling that liquid out to the outside of the machine. A unique feature that's offered on the XP only models, which is with the thermal printer, is what we call a hot foods program, or doing liquids that are still warm. Here I've got soup that's at a higher temperature. You can see the steam coming around the side of the bag. I'll unravel this. I set the hot foods program so it's going to be a maximum temperature of what we measure the sauce at. As I close down the vacuum machine now, I remove the trim, label the product, and now it's ready to go into the walk-in refrigerator. Another unique feature with the XP is the infusion cycle. What that allows you to do is pull down a vacuum to whatever pressure you want to pull down to. 99.9%, 80%, you choose in the program. But then you can go into the second part of the program and say, okay, now I want to hold that pressure for up to 10 minutes. Here I've got a nice beef stew. I'm going to place inside the chamber without a bag. And I'm basically going to infuse the flavors into the meats by just letting the machine do the job for me. Now the machine is sitting here under pressure, pulling all the gases, as many gases as you possibly can, out of the natural meats or the vegetables that are in the stew. I set it for 30 seconds, but here you can set it for up to 10 minutes. You can see the actual gases coming out of the food by the bubbling of the product. An instant way of changing the texture and the flavor of any product. Infusion with extended cycle. Here's a little trick that's sort of nice when you actually have a customer come in and they just want to, and you want to take a steak and just infuse it and just change the flavor just ever so slightly. Take a few steaks, place your marinade right over them, like I've done here. Set your vacuum pressure high. Set your infusion level to about 2.5 minutes. Place your steaks in the chamber and start the infusion cycle. Here we only set it for 30 seconds just to show you the process. But typically with a steak like that, you set it for anywhere from a minimum 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, all the way to 10 minutes. You'll open up the pores that much more and infuse that much more of your marinade into the steak itself, which will enhance that flavor as you cut into it. That is an instant flavor enhancer. Infusion and pickling in a bag. Here we have our cucumbers in a marinade. We place our product inside the vacuum machine using our slant tray. can now see how translucent the product has become with that instant pickling, instant infusion. On this video, we talked about a lot of different tricks of the trade and a lot of different uses of a vacuum machine, from just storage to food manipulation to infusion and now to sous vide cooking. Sous vide cooking. A must to have a vacuum machine, because first you've got to actually vacuum package your product. Second, you have to have a hot water tank to actually cook the product in. This particular chicken here will cook at 158 degrees for about an hour and 15 minutes. This is the art of sous vide cooking. The XP series. We're very proud of this machine. This machine offers all the features that chefs are looking for in vacuum packaging, and more to come, because it's software driven, so it can be upgraded as time goes on. So remember, when you're in a market for a vacuum machine, remember Mini Pack for Chefs. That's www.minipackforchefs.com.